Welcome, everyone, to 55 and 5, episode 12. Cary, we're just about 10% of the way through the 121 card set.
Well, I'm having fun, despite the fact that this is making me look like a complete buffoon.
Well, this is a learning experience. I don't know these things. It's like Jeopardy. Alex Trebek, very smart man, but he didn't know everything. He was reading cards.
Okay.
Just reading cards over here. Literally, we got wrestling cards. I got cue cards, the whole deal. So to keep you up to speed with what we're doing here, 1955 Parkhurst set, great wrestling card set, released primarily in Ontario, upstate New York, Vermont, Maine. I completed the whole set. Cary's been working on the 54 set. I don't know a lot of these wrestlers. So what I've done is I bring them over to Cary and say, hey, Cary, do you know who these guys are? Sometimes Cary does, because we have Buddy Rogers, Lou Thez, Vern Gagne. Sometimes we have Steve McGill of Nebraska. So we're on episode 12. Because Cary and I are both very verbose. We talk a lot. That's the word I'm looking for. We limit it to 5 minutes. Sometimes we use it all. Sometimes we don't. And our last episode, we saw a man in a very nice hat. The great Alan Garfield, Cary.
Yes. where I could say, I'm so verbose that I say nothing.
Well, that's okay, because we got some great anecdotes. I encourage folks to go back and watch the Antonina Rock episode on the fifth episode. The first episode where he talked about seeing Vern Gagne in Madison Square Garden. There's a lot of great things. The Tex McKenzie episodes where we tagged in Kevin Sullivan on that one and had a lot of fun there. And Hans Schmidt, the list goes on and on. So there are more that you know than we haven't known. I have a curveball for you.
Oh, boy.
Do you know anything about weightlifters?
Not much.
Okay, so before there was Bill Kazmaier, he was the world's strongest man. Before there's Ted Arcidi, who had the great 714-pound bench press.
Wasn't Ken Patera?
Ken Patera was he was a strong man. Yeah, he was in the world's strongest man competitions, yeah. There was this man, and we're going to set the clock at 5 minutes.
Oh, boy.
And then I will show Cary the man who was named Mr. British Columbia 1954. So a lot of these cards, because they are Canadian, have a Canadian tint. So we're going to ask Cary about this man who has a very fun photoshopped barbell, or dumbbell, rather, on the card. So Cary, I'm going to start the timer and ask you if you know this man.
Oh, for Christ's sake. Why are you doing this to me? Doug Hepburn.
Doug Hepburn, yeah.
Impressive looking gentleman.
Barrel chested. You can take a look at it closer if you'd like.
Oh, man.
British Columbia Man of the Year. That would be great. I'd love to be the Allentown Man of the Year. I got to do something real impressive.
I wonder who gave him the award, but right. Hopefully you'll be able to tell us.
I do, actually, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
Doug Hepburn.
He was a big deal in Canada, a big deal in weightlifting, and he had a legitimate claim as the world's strongest man because he was the first person ever, the first human being ever to break 400, 450, and 500 pounds on the bench press.
Really?
Yeah, so very legitimately strong man. In fact, he was such a big deal that the government of the city of Vancouver paid him $150 a week, so $600 a month, to train for the Empire Games, in which he won multiple distinctions in the powerlifting categories. He was the British Columbia Man of the Year in 1954. How he got into wrestling, do you want to venture a guess how that happened? Because he was in the west coast of Canada, Vancouver, British Columbia, when he made his debut in Maple Leaf Wrestling.
How did he get into it?
Yeah.
I would say he saw it on television.
Okay.
And maybe sought out the profession that way.
Yeah, a little bit of that and a little bit of Whipper Billy Watson.
Oh.
Was very familiar with his weightlifting feats, who we did on episode 9 or 8 or 9, which got censored by YouTube. But
yes.
For nudity. But he was brought into Maple Leaf Wrestling by Whipper Billy Watson and Frank Tunney as a strongman. So he would come in, he would crush license plates, he would rip phone books, he would do these feats of strength as sort of a warm-up or an addition to the crowd, because he was such a notable name in Canada that he was actually a draw if you put him on to do a feat of strength. And then he became a wrestler, and he trained under Whipper Billy Watson. He teamed with Antonina Rocca. He teamed with Whipper Billy Watson. He had feuds with Yukon Eric, Fritz von Erich, as those two gentlemen. And he was a little bit of a big deal for about 2 or 3 years. He signed a 5-year deal, didn't complete the terms of the 5-year deal with Maple Leaf Wrestling and Frank Tunney because he had another passion. Do you know what his other passions were?
No.
He had a regional Christmas song hit.
Really?
Yes. In his native British Columbia. He also wrote poems and essays. And finally, he did a really nice thing. On Last Stop Penn Station, we talk a lot about addiction, about getting help, and how there's no shame for that, and how that can be a wonderful thing. He was one of the first celebrity advocates for getting help with alcoholism, and one of the first celebrity advocates for getting help with depression and seeking therapy.
That's very important.
So we talked about some of the great wrestlers like Whipper Billy Watson giving back to his community with the Easter Seals. Doug Hepburn, not just a big man and the strong muscles, a strong heart as well, doing the right thing, trying to destigmatize alcoholism and depression. So,
well, I'm sort of embarrassed that I don't know more about him. It sounds like somebody that I would have just come up somewhere along the way, but I think it's the fun of the game.
Yeah, and I think a little bit before your era too. You mentioned you were born in 56.
Yes.
He was done with wrestling by the end of 56.
Oh.
So
he did a lot of good for the community, though.
He did. And world famous strongman Doug Hepburn. Unfortunately, of course, his records did not last. Ted Arcidi would do it with the benefit of, well, allegedly some substances by some folks, but others say he did it clean. But Doug Hepburn, Cary, we took about 3 minutes and 31 seconds to extol the virtues of the great Doug Hepburn.
Yeah, I'm confounded and baffled again. I want you to pull a card out where I could say something about it, or at least make something up, but I'm not going to do that. Well, interesting guy.
Yeah, well, we have a couple aces up our sleeves still to come. We know there's Buddy Rogers. We know there's Lou Thez. There might be Dory Funk Sr. Little birdie told me. There might be the great Montana.
Hombre Montana.
Hombre Montana. It's a name that we've talked about.
And there'll be 96 others that I'll be stymied with here.
Well, he acts like I'm remembering this or know this. I'm researching and writing it on a card.
That's okay. I'm happy to learn.
Yeah, we're happy to share it with you too. So this has been 55 and 5. Please like, subscribe, do that fun stuff. Check us out on Last Stop Penn Station. For Cary, for AJ, I'm Ian. Thanks for joining us, everybody.